Good evening. My name is Lisa Dixon, and I'm with the Women's Division of Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, and I want to thank you for coming out tonight to our local election forum. Before we start, I also wanted to let you know that this is a significant event that will help shape our community and our community's future for tomorrow. Before we start, we will have Tanya Gill to come up and give all the rules for tonight, as well as the processes and procedures that we will go through tonight's election forum. But before Tanya comes up, I would like to just have Dr. Ella Ward to stand up, and we wanted to recognize her as chairing our local committee for this year. Thank you, Dr. Ward. Ms. Tanya?
Good evening, and welcome to tonight's forum. We are happy that you've joined us, and we look forward to hearing from our candidates. Before we begin tonight, I want to let you all know that we are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization. So now let's talk about the rules. Each candidate will have 2 minutes for introductory comments. Candidates will be called in alphabetical order, starting with the mayoral candidates first and then followed by the city council candidates. The questions have been received from the public and vetted by the Women's Division Forum Committee. And the candidates will draw 3 questions out of the fishbowl. You will have 2 minutes for each one of your questions. At the conclusion of those questions, you will have time for a 2-minute closing. Tonight, asking our questions are members of the Women's Division. We have Claudia Macon, Vanetta Charles, and Paula Favor. Thank you, ladies. We are asking that you adhere to our time limits. So if you look at the back of the room, Kimberly Hobbs, can you raise your hands? So when you see the yellow pop up, you have 30 seconds. When you see the red pop up, you have 15 seconds. When you hear the bell, that means you need to wrap it up and move on to the next question. And then you will have, again, at the end, you'll be able to give a 2-minute closing. Before we begin, we ask that everybody silence all of your devices in respect for the candidates. At this time, I would like to introduce Paula Favor to announce and recognize to the podium our first candidate.
Don J. Carey III, please come up to the podium and select your questions.
So do I grab all 3 before my introduction, or?
And then you can give your opening statement if you'll
Yes,
give
ma'am.
your questions.
I guess I just got more. Oh, okay. My apologies. You want this as well? Okay. Yeah.
You may give your opening statement.
Well, thank you. Well, grace and peace, everyone. My name is Don Carey, and for the past several years, I've had the great honor of serving as a city councilman in the city of Chesapeake, and I'm happy to announce to you today that I am running for mayor in this great city. I stand before you not just as a candidate for mayor, but as a friend, a neighbor, and someone who cares deeply about our city's integrity, vision, and progress. I mean, our city is a great community of communities with, Mulligan. It's okay. There's always grace and mercy. Our city is a great community of communities with each neighborhood having its own unique history and culture. And I'm excited to be able to work together with the citizens in these communities to preserve and enhance these cultures. As we look forward to the future, I think it's important that we both address our strengths and our challenges if we are to make sure that Chesapeake remains an exceptional place to live, learn, work, farm, and play, not just for our generation, but for the future generations that are to come. Since being on council, I have been laser focused in two main areas, workforce development and public safety. In fact, one of the reasons I ran for council is I saw a lack of opportunity for the next generation in workforce development. So we established the Chesapeake World of Works that now connects these great minds to these future jobs so they don't have to leave this area. I've also led a task force in the northern part of the city to help bring answers to the crime, the gang violence, and the drugs that they're experiencing there. But now I'm running for mayor because I think that the job demands more than what we've seen. I think we have grave issues in affordable housing. We have issues in flooding. We have issues of infrastructure. And it's not good enough to just preserve what we've had, but you also have to bring forth viable solutions for the problems that we have and look on the horizon for the problems that are going to be future. Again, my name is Don Carey, and I'm a candidate for mayor. Excited to answer the questions that we have today. I love you too.
Okay, I have your first question. What do you think is the most important skill for being a good mayor?
Yes, so there are several things I look for in a mayor. The first is integrity. I want someone at the helm who I know is going to do the right thing and are always seeking the righteous path. I tell individuals, I stand on my Bible as my foundation, and I stand under the Word of God as my final authority. Every decision that I make because I feel like it's the best interest for the city. I'm not doing this for personal gain. I'm not doing this because I need the hand claps. I'm doing this because I love my city. I love our community, and I see that there are issues where it is appropriate for government to fix. I also think your leaders should have vision. They should be able to have their finger on the pulse of the city, understanding the issues that the citizens are dealing with, and working together with public and private partnerships to bring solutions, again, where it's appropriate for government to do so. Government is not the end-all of all things. We make ourselves far more important than what we are. But when there are issues of flooding or issues of crime or issues of infrastructure, these are the basic resources and services we should be giving to our citizens. So it's not a question of should your mayor have vision. Your mayor should be able to see these things and roll up their sleeves and go work with the citizens. Lastly, I think your leader should be progressing to an intended outcome. It is not enough to say, I see what an issue is, but if you're not out in the community, if you're not doing the job necessary, if you're not bringing forth the solutions that are viable, that will help extend the exceptionality of our city, then you're not doing the job well. And again, I'm running for mayor because I have not seen those three things put into action. And I want to make sure, again, as I'm raising 4 kids in this city, that we pass down an exceptional city to them, the way I have been able to experience it. No bells this time.
Thank you.
I have your second question, and it's 2 parts. What is the most pressing issue for Chesapeake? What is the solution?
Thank you. I think the most pressing issue for the city of Chesapeake is flooding. It's to the point now where if it rains, it floods all over our city. What we used to experience as 50-year storms are now happening every 5 years. And sadly, we don't have an adequate flood mitigation plan within the city of Chesapeake to help combat what we're seeing. We're seeing rise in groundwater. We're seeing a rise in tidal flooding from our rivers, both in the north and the southern part of the city. We're seeing 20% increase in rainfall. Citizens are experiencing this across demographics. It doesn't matter what you look like or how much money that you make. When the rain falls, it falls on every last one of us. Again, I believe that Chesapeake is an exceptional place to live, learn, work, farm, and play. In order to extend that to the future generations, we need to be thinking forwardly. How do we mitigate the issues that we're having with flooding here within the city so that our children and our children's children can enjoy this great city. We don't have that now. Secondly, I would say the equal issue is housing, the affordability of housing, the variety of housing that we have in our city historically. Our city has been one that likes single-family homes, and where that is a place to have, we are missing what's called the missing middle, the townhomes, the condos, the apartments. We're pricing out millennials, which is my generation, but we're also pricing out Gen Zers and even the elderly population because our homes are getting larger, but family sizes are getting smaller. I think we need a variety of housing that appeals to a wide variety of individuals to make sure we have affordable and attainable housing, and not just have it anywhere, but I think we should have it along existing transit lines so citizens can move back and forth and enjoy all the amenities we have here.
Hello, I have your third question. Serving as mayor is a huge commitment. How will you manage your time to ensure that you remain dedicated to being informed of the city's operations, stay abreast of the ever-changing local government issues, and promote the city?
Well, this is a good question because I played in the NFL for 10 years prior to serving in politics. And my wife can attest that she's used to me being gone for 12 hours a day, working to better our team and win the next game. I bring the same mentality to the work that I do here on City Council. If you ever interact with me, you get my cell phone, and I tell people I go to sleep late and I wake up early, and I'm always excited to talk about city business. I'm one of the few council members that make myself available to every media outlet, to every citizen who sends an email, to everyone who wants to ask a question about a vote that I've made. I fully understand what is required to do this job. I've had the honor of serving as a city council member, and I know that I need to make myself available to citizens, and I'm happy to do so. I've got the blessing of my boss, my wife, to be able to meet with citizens whenever they need, wherever they need to, and by God's grace, she's been able to hold down the home in my stead. But I think that the most important thing when it comes to doing this job is at night before I go to sleep or when I wake up in the morning, I am on my face asking God to help direct me in how I should be a leader. I want to make sure that I lead in a way that's pleasing and honoring to Him, but I also want to lead in a way that every resident within the city, whether you agree or disagree with the vote that I've taken, know that I'm doing the best that I can for the betterment of our city. Thank you.
And I invite you now to make a closing statement.
Sure, thank you. So I mentioned briefly in my comments, well, let me take a step back and recognize that family that I mentioned to you all. I'm joined here with my lovely bride of 10 years, Lakeisha Carey. She's here with our 4 children, Victor, Amelia, Asher, and Eliana. I'm so proud of them for being quiet. All right. But I mentioned in my opening remarks that I think the job demands more than what we've experienced. Chesapeake has had a beautiful legacy of public safety and education, and as a council member, I've kept in step with that, and as mayor, I will work to enhance those. But in addition to public safety and education, we also, again, have grave issues that we have to bring solutions to. If we're going to maintain this exceptional city that we live in, I'll bring forth solutions for housing. I'll bring forth solutions for infrastructure. I'll bring forth solutions to make sure that we're doing the things necessary to mitigate flooding, that we're doing the things necessary to pass down an exceptional city to our children, the next generation. I wasn't one who was raised in a political household. I don't care if you are a Democrat or a Republican, if you are black or white. I look at every citizen within the city as my neighbor and made in the image of my Lord. And as such, I want to work with you. I want to serve you. I want to hear the things that matter to you. And again, if it is appropriate for government to bring solutions forth, I will roll my sleeves up as I have done for the past 4 years, and I will not relent until we bring a solution to that situation. Again, my name is Don Carey. I'm excited to run for mayor. I'm excited to continue serving this great city. You can learn more about our campaign at votesdoncarey.com. Voting has already begun, and I humbly ask for your vote today or November 5th. You all have a blessed day. Thank you.
Rick W. West, please come to the podium, select your questions, and I invite you to have an opening statement.
I get to read them as well.
No.
Pardon?
I don't know. What are the rules on that, Tom? Can you read them
I
before
just-
he gives them to me? No, that's the rules.
Okay, should go both ways, but fine.
Sorry.
Yep. Good evening, everyone. You know, I didn't fall in love with Chesapeake just because I wanted to be mayor. I wanted to be mayor because I fell in love with Chesapeake. As someone who grew up here, this love for my city has been lifelong. I've lived here, I've worked here, I've raised a family. I never had planned on being in politics, quite honestly, but here I am, 18 years later, honored to serve the greatest city on the face of the earth. During my time as mayor, Chesapeake has seen improvements across every community, from strengthening our public safety to bolstering our economy. It's been a privilege to be able to serve our great city, whether it has been as a school principal or as a mayor. My mission has always been the same, and that is to serve. And that's what I intend on continuing to do. Tonight, I hope to share my vision of a strong, united Chesapeake built on teamwork and collaboration that always puts politics last and people first.
First question. How will you convince young adults to move to or remain in Chesapeake?
Well, you know, quite honestly, we haven't had to do a whole lot of convincing if you look at the history of our growth rate. It is true that all of Hampton Roads, all of our region, is lacking some job areas that we don't have, and our young folks are moving to larger cities. But I think that's starting to change as we continue. There's so many areas of our region that are creating workforce development programs and creating opportunities for young people to either get into a new career or follow the career that they're most interested in. And so I think that it's not going to take a lot of convincing on our part other than to provide adequate jobs for them. And by the way, that's one of the things that we've done in Chesapeake. Over 1,300 new jobs in 2023, new businesses, new people moving to Chesapeake, people wanting to be here. And so it doesn't take a lot of convincing when you have a city as functional as we have today.
Thank you.
What are your goals for this office?
My goals are for Chesapeake to continue to have quality schools, a strong public safety for people to feel safe, and to have a prosperous economy. And I think probably the prosperous economy is number one, because I do believe that all the things that we say we want swimming pools in every community, we want cultural art centers, we want better roads, we want our schools. It all comes from the business community. When you have a prosperous, growing business community, things just work. Someone asked me the other day that how does Virginia Beach, how are they able to do the things that they do and keep their taxes low? I said it's because of tourism. That is their great industry. We have an opportunity in Chesapeake to have a mega site that would bring that kind of revenues to our city, and I would like to see that mega site come into fruition so that we can attract good-paying jobs and tax incentives or tax revenues to keep our own taxes low.
The third question is, how are you funding your campaign?
By asking for money. Anybody who's willing to give me money, I'm willing to take it, because I'm going to tell you, we've never had, honestly, this is the most, I've been as I said, in politics for 18 years and I think 5 or 6 different elections. I've never seen one like this. I've never seen so many personal attacks. I've never seen so many untruths that are being told in our community because of leaders who don't know how to tell the truth, who just creates false information to cause us to be divided and to hate one another. And so to send a message, a different message, that calls out folks that do that and that also promotes the love of community, the love of God, love of our services, it takes money. And so, yeah, I'm willing to take money, and I always make it clear. I'm not sure, I don't care what sector is offering to help me pay for my campaign. It's never with a promise that I'll do what you want me to do. And I have examples after examples that prove that.
Thank you. I invite you to make closing statements.
You know, a time where we are so divided, Chesapeake has always found a way to come together. Our city was built on hard work of both Democrats and Republicans. And it will remain strong only if we are willing to work together for the betterment of our community. And if I'm honored to be reelected as mayor, I pledge to work across all lines to keep Chesapeake the best place to live, learn, work, farm, and play. We have made some incredible progress. Our schools are top-notch. Our public safety is second to none. And we're becoming an economic powerhouse in this region and still maintaining that small town charm. We are the #1 run city in the Commonwealth and one of the 12 best places to live. Now, my opponent has supported my leadership, and rarely has he voted different than me. Now it's election season. He seems to want to attack and use DC-style devices for Chesapeake. We're just not made for that. We need to stay Chesapeake, caring for one another, fighting for one another, and being who we are. So thank you, and I hope and pray that you will give me your support on November the 5th, and the next time you vote, which may be tomorrow. God bless you all, and thank you.
Thank you very much. This concludes the forum for candidates for the office of mayor of the city of Chesapeake. We will now move forward with the forum for members of city council, which will follow the same format. I invite Reagan A. Davis to the podium to select your questions and give us your opening statement.
Trying to choose the lucky ones. And, oh, there we go. There we go. Thank you, ma'am. Good to go? Good evening to all with us in the room this evening and watching later. My name is Reagan Davis. I come to you tonight as the first candidate speaking this evening, but also a candidate on the ballot for Chesapeake City Council. I am a teacher in Chesapeake, but also a teacher as well at Norfolk State University as well as Tidewater Community College. And this is my first time running for City Council. And as a lifetime resident of our city, I'm running because I know that our city can do better. We've had a lot of great strides made in our city. We have a solid foundation, but I know that we can make our city even a better place to live. My campaign is running on a platform of proactive infrastructure so that we have better roads and sidewalks so that everybody, including our children, do not have to walk in busy roadways to get to school, so that our adults do not have to use mobility devices in busy roadways to get to where they need to be. That we protect green spaces so that we all can utilize parks and enjoy fresh air. That we are able to have financial transparency so the common person understands where our tax dollars are being spent. We all deserve that. And I hope to be a person on City Council that helps to make a team of folks make common sense decisions that help make our city a better place to keep moving us forward in the right direction. Thank you.
I have your first question.
Thank you.
What areas in the city do you think are important to promote the preservation of agricultural land and open spaces?
Thank you for the question. So I am a lifelong resident of our city of Chesapeake, and I've grown up and I still reside in the area of Greenbrier. And I think back to when I was younger, driving down Volvo Parkway with my parents, and we had a lot of forest. And as if you've ever had the privilege of driving down Volvo, you've seen the development area. And, new developments brings tax dollars to our area. But also, not having the privilege of living in rural southern Chesapeake, we know that agricultural areas are pivotal to providing farm space, providing produce, providing livestock into our houses each and every day, and into our schools as well. And so that I know that our farmers in our agriculture areas need to be protected, so that when our farmers in our agricultural areas want the protection, we should be leaders that protect their use. However, I also understand that some folks are using, of course, their farms as their retirement plan. And so that it is my hope that we can make common sense decisions on city council as well as our planning departments, that when folks need to be able to move on to the next chapter, that when we move, when we promote their, when they move on to the next chapter, that we are able to not have to diminish the land surrounding them as well. So I hope that we can make common sense decisions that benefit all of us and also protect the private use of agricultural land for the individual as well. Thank you.
What services do you believe are core services for the city to provide to its citizens?
So all of our services in our city, I believe, are pivotal, but what I think can be an immediate change for us that we see are public roadways and sidewalks. And again, going back to my opening statement, when I see folks, again, having to walk in roadways to get from one point to another, our city can do better. When I see busy roadways, like Campostella, when I see one lane each roadway, and you either have to walk in a ditch, muddy roadways to get to where you need to be. Again, we can do better as a team to make that happen. And it's up to us to make those changes possible. But it's not just sidewalks. It's also fixing potholes in the areas. So when we have potholes, it's damaging our cars. It's slowing down traffic, making our roadways busier. And so when we have our street lights out, and I know that there's part of a partnership activity, but it's us to be able to support our residents to ensure that we get folks in communication with the necessary parties. And so when we are able to improve our public infrastructure, it makes our city a better place, not just for our residents, but the folks who are visiting us, because like folks have already said, we want to make sure that we get folks to spend money in our city. And that's a great way we can improve it all for all of us. Thank you.
Hello, I have your third question. If you receive a $1 million grant to use for the city in any way you wanted, what would you do with it and why?
It's a lot of money. So one of the most important things, especially when we get money of that size, which would be an amazing thing for our city, is that it is not up to me to make a decision for what happens with money in our city. Excuse me for 1 second. It is up to the citizens we serve. So that if we are receiving money, we should be asking our residents and coming to where they are to ensure that they are telling us what they want to see happen with the money, assuming no restrictions is provided by the question. Because what we get and what we are elected to do is to serve the people in our city. Chesapeake is not Reagan Davis City. It is not Pat King City. It's not Robert Ike City. It's not anybody's city. We are a city, and we are elected to serve the people who elected us to office. So when we make decisions of how to spend money, it should be based upon what the people want. Thank you.
Thank you. I now invite you to make your closing statement.
So one of my goals, again, being brand new to this realm of political office, and being a teacher, it's one of the best privileges is to bring together different types of individuals, different socioeconomic statuses, different abilities, different different life goals to make them all come together to make some major community that somehow produces a successful outcome at the end of the year. And they all go forth and accomplish something new in the future. And we all hope as educators that they become successful. We see them accomplish great things. And it's the same thing what I see in city government and for our city. It's that we have to come together and not just focus on one part of the city, but focus on the city as a whole, that we can bring people together of different statuses, different parts of our area, different abilities, different needs, and that we can make decisions together with a team of folks all across this room and the city, and the entire City Hall building, that we can make decisions together that make our city a better place for us all. And we can do that, but it takes all of us, not just one person. And I thank you for all your time. My name is Reagan Davis. I would hope you would vote for me on or before November 5th, and you can find out more information at reagandavisforchesapeake.com. Thank you all.
I now invite E.R. Jeff Jeffries Jr. to the podium to select your questions and make your opening statement.
I think my fellow candidates would agree that pulling out of a fishbowl has become the latest addition of Fear Factor. And it can't be more difficult than following a professional school teacher as the speaking high bar, so thank you, Reagan.
I'm not nervous at all, so I'm coming down. It's okay.
Am I good to begin? Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeff Jeffries, candidate for City Council. I'd like to start off by thanking the Women's Division for putting this together tonight. This is a fantastic platform for everyone to get to know the candidates. I commend you all for being here. There are many ways you can spend your time this evening, and you're choosing to become educated on the future of your city, which is electing your future leadership. So I commend you for that. A little bit about me. I've been a resident in the city of Chesapeake for over 20 years. I've had the pleasure and honor of serving on the police department for even longer. I'm currently a captain on the police department serving in the Investigations Bureau. I have lived here with my wife for, again, over 20 years. She's a school teacher teaching special ed at Deep Creek High School. We've had a beautiful family raised here. Both of my daughters are a product of Chesapeake Public Schools, and they both have graduated with honors and are now away at college based on the fantastic school system that we have here in Chesapeake. I'm also a previous business owner. I've owned 2 small businesses here in Chesapeake. So I've had a bit of an eclectic background, providing me with some critical thinking skills and perspectives that have prepared me to come and speak before you tonight and ask for your vote. With my campaign, I intend to focus on 3 areas. Probably not a secret based on my family description, but public safety is very important to me. It doesn't matter how beautiful our shopping districts are. If you have to clutch your purse on the way to the car, we're failing you. So it's fortunate that we have been for many years one of the safest cities in the country for our size. Our public schools, we have to continue to invest in attracting and retaining the best teachers. And finally, economic development, which will be the engine that will fund both of those 2 previous areas. I intend to make decisions every decision I make is going to be based on the individual merits and consequences of the projects that are brought before me, and you can count on me, as I have for decades, always standing and doing the right thing.
Thank you. First question, what is your main goal as a city council member?
My main goal is to bring the concept of being a statesman within politics back to popularity again. What that means is I intend to conduct myself as I have for decades with honor and integrity, to fulfill the promises that I'm making as I'm out in civic leagues and neighborhoods and living rooms every night as I meet the citizens. I'm making commitments and promises to them that I have to deliver. So my intent is to live up to my word. I'm very transparent. I'm very honest. I've been all over this city as a police officer. There's not an area of this city that I haven't worked in. There's not an area of this city that I haven't visited on the campaign trail. And I've looked people in the eye, and often I'm giving them answers that aren't quite what they hope, but they know they're getting an honest answer. And I'm going to stand behind those as I deliver the best possible product I can for the future of Chesapeake.
Thank you.
If someone came to you with a proposal to build a new piece of public infrastructure, how would you evaluate whether or not that project was worth implementing?
Okay, it's a great question. I think that's, Chesapeake is poised for success right now, and we're going to have a lot of those decisions come before us. So I think it's important to discuss that and for you to understand how your candidates do problem solve and make decisions. For me, first, is it good for the city? Second, is it good for the community? Because those are two different things. Third, is it good for the business? And it has to be good for all three. We can look around our city right now and see many empty shopping centers. We see many businesses that stand empty. So it's important that it has to be good for all three of those. It has to be good for the city, good for the community, and good for the business. After that, we have to look at the impact that that decision is going to make. What are the unintended consequences? That's where you have to get in a room and brainstorm and figure out, while this looks great and it satisfies these three areas, there's always a tail side to every coin. Nothing comes for free. There could be a potential cost that we're not seeing right now. What is the impact that it's going to have on our city? Every future project is going to have an impact. How will it impact our roadways? How will it impact the school system? And creating a balance between those two portions of the decision-making and trying to make the best sound fiscal decision going forward is how I would make that determination.
Thank you.
I have your third question.
Yes, ma'am.
How will you convince young adults to move or remain in Chesapeake?
Well, it's interesting. Two parts to discuss there. One, to remain in Chesapeake. It's unfortunate. I did love the childhood and the life that my two daughters had here, but it was sad for me that there was nothing to do. There was nowhere to go. I had teenage daughters that on a Friday night were either going to drive to another city to spend money, or they were going to walk around Target or Walmart. That was the height of their childhood. This gray hair will tell you, I got to grow up in an era where you could go to a mall and there was an arcade and there were things to do. I would like to see things to do for our youth come back here. Let's reimagine some of this existing concrete around the city. Let's bring in things for our youth to do. Second, opportunity. We're losing the youth to other areas of the country that have more opportunities. We need to become the opportunity for our youth to stay here. Both my girls are away at college. My intent is for them to come back here. They need to find a home that they can afford, and there needs to be good jobs here. That's done by attracting the businesses that we want. Now, with the addition of the internet broadband loop in southern Chesapeake, some other infrastructure that's been created, we're going to be the pretty girl at the dance, attracting these businesses. There's going to be a waiting line of businesses to come to this city. We need to be very deliberate in how we evaluate those businesses, the impact that it has on the city, but make sure that those opportunities exist for our youth.
Thank you.
Okay.
I invite you to make your closing statement.
Thank you very much. Again, I would like to thank everyone for attending. I'd also like to thank the other candidates. Thank you for being willing to get involved. This is a very stressful process, running for office, but it's clearly important to everyone here. Everyone in this room is passionate about the future of this city. So I commend you all for making the sacrifices so far. We're in the home stretch. Next, I would like to just say that in 2001, I raised my hand and swore an oath to this city. And since then, I have delivered on that oath. I swore an oath to every citizen that I would be everything they needed when they dialed 911. And I have continued to remain focused on that for well over 20 years, to the point where people still ask me, why are you getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and working out so hard? As a captain, you're at a desk job. I said, because I'm not guaranteed that when I get in that car to go to work, or I'm in that car at some point, that citizen that I swore an oath to is going to need me. I said, oaths don't have an expiration date. And I stand before you today to say, I've done a lot of things in my career that I've taught. I believe over the period of a career, in the beginning you're paid for what you do, then you're paid for what you've learned, and then you're paid for what you've become. And I promise you, the decades that I've spent already serving this city have prepared me to raise my hand once again and swear an oath to each and every one of you to deliver on the future that you deserve in this city. Thank you.
I invite Patricia Y. Pat King to the podium to select her questions and make an opening statement.
Good evening. I want to thank the women of the Women's Division for organizing this event and for all the good work that you do in the community, with this forum just being one example of that. I am Pat King, and I'm a candidate for City Council. I have led a life of service and leadership. I'm a former classroom teacher. I'm a former Chesapeake School Board member. I am a medical doctor, a psychiatrist, a small business owner, and a single mother of 3. So I've had ample opportunities to lead. I was not born in Chesapeake. I was born in Norfolk, but I've lived in Chesapeake for the last 33 years, and it is my home. It's the home that I love. It is where I built my first home. It is where I started my business and have been practicing medicine for the last 28 years. It is where I have raised my 3 precious children. I love this city. I love the people here. I'm committed to Chesapeake, and that's why I am running for Chesapeake City Council. As a former school board member, classroom teacher, and as a physician, I am concerned about the environment. So one of my priorities is to have curbside recycling reinstated for all of the citizens of Chesapeake, and not just those who can afford it. I'm concerned about the rapid growth that's taken place in this city, and I want to make sure that it's managed properly so that we're not destroying further our infrastructure, our animal habitats. We're not overcrowding our schools, and we're not contributing to traffic congestion. And I'm also concerned about the lack of mental health services that are needed. We don't have any acute care beds for our citizens who suffer from mental illness, who may need medical detox, or who have overdosed and need acute care treatment. This city has to have beds for those people. Thank you.
I have your first question. The level of service policy is used to review new development applications. It currently evaluates impacts on schools and roads. Should other services be considered?
Absolutely. And thank you for that question. As I said, I'm really concerned about the rapid growth in this city. And I live right off of Volvo Parkway, and getting from Battlefield Boulevard to Greenbrier Parkway during traffic hour can take 25 to 30 minutes. The city has to grow, but it has to be managed, taking into account the infrastructure issues, the overcrowding in our schools, our quality of life, and traffic congestion. So I think we need to lay a real critical eye on building, where we build, how we build, and when we build in the city.
Thank you.
What do you believe is the city of Chesapeake's greatest strength, and why?
I think the people of Chesapeake are our greatest strength. I think the people have built this city, and our elected officials have made this city an amazing place to live. Second largest city in the state of Virginia, the 11th largest city in the country, one of the safest cities of its size, as you mentioned, for us to live. Money Magazine says it's one of the top 6 places in the country to live. We have outstanding schools, incredible school district. And so there are a lot of strengths, but all of the strengths of this city are because of the people who have invested the time and the energy to build it, to make it what it is today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How did you respond to our survey question regarding your support for collective bargaining? Please tell us the reason for your answer.
Yes. I am in support of collective bargaining. I think people should have input into the jobs that they have, the salaries that they're paid, and the benefits that they receive. I think it gives people power, and power is important. So I am definitely for collective bargaining, and I think the people of this city would speak in favor of it as well. So I'm definitely a proponent of collective bargaining. I think it makes people more successful in the jobs that they do. It makes them happier when they feel like they have input into decisions that are being made that affect their lives, their income, And so I think it's a very, very important thing for us to support.
Thank you. I invite you to make your closing statement.
Yes. And I just want to say, I'm not a candidate that's new to service and new to leadership. I've lived a life of service and leadership. And so I put my money where my mouth is. I'm in the community. I'm working. For the last 35 years, I have served the most vulnerable population in our community and have loved every minute of it. I'm a candidate of second chances. I believe people should be given another opportunity, even if they have floundered, if they have been addicted to substances, if they have had a rough patch in their lives. We have to give people second chances, and I am that candidate. I'm also a unifier. You know, I've spent my career bringing people together, teaching them to have fair disagreements, teaching them how to communicate. And that is my foundation, is bringing people together and uniting them. I believe we are stronger together. And as was said earlier, I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. It makes no difference. You're a human being, and you deserve to be treated with respect, and I will always be that person who treats you with respect. So I do humbly ask for your vote now or anytime prior to and or November the 5th, and I will work for you. I will work for this city. I will work for the people. My track record supports that. So thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you. SZ Debbie Ritter, I invite you to the podium to pick your questions and make your opening statement.
A lot of questions. That must be one I don't know. I think that's 3.
I believe you're correct.
Thank you. Good evening. Thank you to the members of the Women's Division for hosting this forum and allowing us the opportunity to reach so many people across the city. I've spent my years on council serving the people of the city. I believe that vision for our city doesn't come from the seats behind us, but it comes from the people who live here. And it's our job to follow through on that and do the very best we can to give them the city that they want to stay in and live with. So I have some commitments I made when I was first elected, and I continue those through my entire tenure. I believe in financial responsibility, that every family should be financially secure, and that our city should be financially secure. That we live within our means as our families do, and set priorities to help us bring the services and the kind of city people expect. I believe we should keep our taxes and fees as low as possible, particularly in today's economy. I believe without having a safe city and well-trained law enforcement and first responders, we really have nothing, and nothing we can rely on. I think we need to maintain our quality education program. Oh, thank you, Kimberly. And continue to educate the children. My tenure has also shown that I will always make votes to balance growth with our ability to absorb the impacts of that growth. Fortunately, and I'll finish up on my closing statement, fortunately for all of you listening in here, we have public voting records and recordings of our meetings. So if you have questions, they're available for the answers. Oh, are you sure? This is an odd perspective for me.
Yes, we're sure.
Yes, ma'am.
Number 1, how do you balance divergent opinions between citizens, and how will you make decisions when your opinions are different from the public's?
Well, as I said, I don't believe vision comes from that. There are occasions where there are differences between the opinions of members of council and the opinions of some citizens. The question is, are citizens always united in their opinions? And we found that they are not. So by listening, and I think the greatest gift an elected person can have is to pull commonality from the comments that you get from the public and find out exactly where the priorities are. So I think that's the best. And anyone who really tells you they can always do what people want, it's kind of a tough thing to follow through on. Sometimes you have to make those hard decisions and stick to the principles that you have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What will you do to address the political divide that exists in politics today?
Well, I think once an election is over and the political nature of a campaign ends, then anyone's fortunate enough to be elected, it represents everyone, whether they voted for them or not, whether they're a neighbor or not. And I have a long tenure on council, and I have done that for all the years I've been there. I live in the Fentress area of the city. I know some people may not even know where that is. It's the furthest away from Western Branch, and yet I work with people in Western Branch all the time. So I think the political divide can be eliminated if we eliminate it ourselves and realize we're people talking to each other.
Thank you.
The current levels of service policies for schools and roads is more than 25 years old. Should City Council update them? If yes, how? And if no, why not?
I couldn't have picked a better question for me. I was actually on the Planning Commission when the original levels of service policy was crafted. And it is way past updating. And I have fought for several years, and we're finally going to be in that process, I think. The previous council, before the new council was seated, fought that off. They didn't want it changed. They didn't want it updated because it might hamper some of their votes. So I do believe it needs to be updated. The entire paradigm of what we look at for levels of service has totally changed in 25 years. The needs of education have changed. Needs for transportation have changed dramatically. So I'm all for that and am working on that about every month. So thank you for the question. That was a great question for me.
I invite you to make your closing statement.
Thank you. I'm going to continue with the priorities that I find so important for our city to continue to be such a great place. We are a big city, second largest city in Virginia, with that small town feel. We've been named the best managed city in Virginia. That's not an accident, because we have thoughtful leaders who choose priorities and do the best they can without asking for too much from our citizens. I think we should prioritize existing neighborhoods and stop the sprawl. I would take a little difference with a previous speaker and say, if you look at everything we've approved in the last couple of years, the majority have been townhouses and apartments. And is that right? Are we moving from a place that young families want to come into a different paradigm? And that's a question will be answered by the public. I believe in preserving open space and agriculture areas and the agricultural industry, which is still the third largest industry in the city of Chesapeake. And I also have been working the last several years with access to mental health. That probably is one of the most emergent problems that we are facing in the city, from our youth to our older population and to our veterans. So I'm really working hard on trying to provide the access to mental health care. I want to thank you all again for tuning in. I hope over the years I've earned your confidence and your trust, and I ask for your vote to continue to work for all the citizens of Chesapeake. Thank you. Thanks, Kimberly.
Jennifer P. Naparella was planning to be here tonight, but due to circumstances beyond her control, she will not be able to join us. I invite Les Smith Jr. to the podium to select your questions and then have your opening statement.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Les Smith. I want to thank the Women's Division for having us here today. A little bit about myself. I'm a native of Chesapeake, a retired deputy sheriff after 28 years of service here in Chesapeake. I want to thank the Fraternal Order Police for their support this election cycle. I'm a public school graduate. Go Braves. I love the city that I live in. I'm here running based on the issues and the concerns of the citizens. So my platform is that of the citizens. And those are affordable housing. It's important that we have affordable housing for our seniors, for our disabled, for our homeless, for our low income, for our middle income. Right now they're being put in a position to where they cannot afford to live here. We need to make some changes as far as that goes. All of our homes shouldn't be $500,000 plus. We've got to look at the other people as far as the workforce is concerned. You work in Chesapeake, you should be able to afford to live in Chesapeake. The single member voting district is important to bring to the city of Chesapeake. A ward system, basically, is what it amounts to. We have top-heavy parts of the city where they're getting all of the resources. So we need to consider those other areas that are not getting those resources because they don't have representation. And we also hold council more accountable if we had that single-member voting district. So that's why we need to bring that to the city. Many people don't think about it, but I listen to all of what's being shared, and part of that is a convocation center. We need that here in the city of Chesapeake. Our graduates go to ODU to graduate when they should be graduating here. Someone spoke earlier about our kids have nothing to do. We should have that here. If I'm elected, I will make sure that the citizens' issues are dealt with, and I will deliver. Thank you.
I have your first question. What neighborhood do you live in, and why did you choose that neighborhood? Where are your favorite places to spend time in Chesapeake?
Okay. So that was one of those questions I was talking about, statements I was making as far as certain areas are not represented well. I live in Deep Creek, okay? So Deep Creek has no representation on council right now. Deep Creek doesn't have a lot of restaurants. Deep Creek doesn't have anything really to do. There's shipping containers, there's a few small businesses, and there's residents. That's Deep Creek, okay? That would change if I'm elected to council. I grew up in South Norfolk, had some concerns there as well. I worked in Great Bridge, and now I live in Deep Creek. Believe it or not, I'm in Deep Creek because when I was looking for homes about 12 years ago, my first selections and my second selection, it was a housing war going on at that time. I could not find a location, so I finally found a home in Deep Creek, and it was a short sale. It took me a year to get the place, but now I'm in, and I'm grateful. But I changed Deep Creek by getting on council. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greenbrier and South Norfolk recently received approximately $28 million for projects. How can you do the same for Western Branch?
Okay. Those particular communities have what they call a TIF, so money set aside through taxes. I don't know why they did South Norfolk and Greenbrier, but just like they did it for those communities, why not do it for Western Branch so the same thing can happen? So that would be my suggestion, is to make that happen, because I know Western Branch sometimes feel as though they're left out. So we can duplicate that in Western Branch as well. Yes.
Thank you.
How can the city better communicate with residents?
Okay. That's a part of my platform. I feel as though we're not tooting our horn, per se, as far as what we do as a city. We should be letting the public know. A lot of times they have no clue. They don't know who's on council in some cases. But everything we're doing positive, we should be letting them know. When there's some things done that are not so positive, we still should let them know. The town halls are set up now to where you walk around, you talk to the different departments and divisions, but there's no group questions like in the past. Some of that needs to be brought back. So there's an exchange of information going back and forth. There's a dialogue, and right now that's not happening. We can't hide behind the dais back here. We got to go out into the community and talk to the citizens. Once we start doing that, they'll know where we're coming from, and we'll know where they're coming from, and we have a better rapport as citizens and as council. Thank you.
Thank you. I invite you to make your closing statement.
Yes. Citizens, I ask for your vote this November the 5th or before. I've been trying since 2018 to be a part of council. I will work hard for you. All I need you to do is to vote to get me into office. I haven't given up on you, so I'm asking that you don't give up on me. Get me elected to see what I can do as a part of council. Know the initials LES. LES stands for listens to every sentence. I have been going to the respective different communities throughout the city, and I've been talking to individuals, finding out what they want, and not promising them, but letting them know I would try to get it done on council by making sure that we have 5 people like-minded to make sure that we get things done in a fashion that we can be pleased with as far as citizens are concerned. We live in a great city. It just can be better, and we need to be more open-minded. We need to be more aggressive, because I think right now the city is 10 to 15 years behind our competitive cities in the Hampton Roads area. It would change just to less. I am number 1 on the ballot for city council. When you turn that ballot over, I'm the first name that you see. Please don't skip it and go to number 2 without going to number 1 first. Thank you very much.
Jeff B. Staples, I invite you to the podium to pick your questions and make your opening statement.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Jeff Staples, and I am an independent candidate for City Council. I chose to become independent because I don't need a lot of the baggage the parties carry around, and I like to not have to tote somebody else's line either. I'd rather speak to the people and get what they want to hear. So when I found out I was coming to the Chamber of Commerce event tonight, I was reminded of the times we're in, and then the times that my great-grandfather was in. He was, in the 1900, he founded Virginia's first trucking company. And people laughed at him back in the day, and they said, you know, the horses are going to be around after these things are put in the junkyard and all this kind of stuff. Well, guess what? It never happened. So we're on the cusp of a lot of breakthroughs right now. And the city needs to be able to embrace that and not carry on with practices like pushing natural gas in these developments and other things. We need to move on from the past and train our children for the jobs of the future. That's going to be critical to retaining our youth and also to getting them good paying jobs. So we want to keep on going, but we also want to preserve what's left of our rural Chesapeake farmlands. Walking every neighborhood I have so far since July, been through more than half of the precincts in the city, and I can tell you that there's a lot of concern about the rapid development and the lack of infrastructure. Some schools are at or approaching 200% capacity now. We have to address this before we continue to this reckless development.
So I have your first question.
Thank you.
Do you have any suggestions to improve regional cooperation?
Well, regional cooperation, I can see some value to it. Also, I think we've ceded too much authority to the regionalism already. I think Chesapeake would be better off if they stuck to the imperatives of the citizens here instead of worrying about what's happening at the oceanfront of Virginia Beach. We have our own individuality here, and we have our own needs, and we definitely have our own set of circumstances, one of them being transit. Some cities have great transit. We have nothing, basically, to speak of. We have a bus system that, in most cases, does not run past 7 p.m. and goes no further south in our city than where we are right now. Guess where all the jobs have gone as we've done all this development? They have gone south. The people that live in South Norfolk and Western Branch and these other places that actually have people that need work can't get to it. And we all know that transportation is the number one creator of upward mobility. So if we want to make Chesapeake equal areas for us to raise our incomes and raise our children and everything else, we need to get back to the citizens and concern ourselves with them first. Thank you.
What area of the city could most benefit from additional public transportation?
That's great. Okay, so so I'm going to reiterate there. We definitely need to have more bus routes, and our formerly industrial north could definitely use it, and those need to go further south than they do now. Also, they're talking about building this. To me, it's a boondoggle, mega industrial site in the worst place possible in Chesapeake, down by the Great Dismal Swamp Wildlife Refuge, and then on the other side of it is the Cavalier Wildlife Management Area. How in the world can we bring bus service there when we can't even get it past Cedar Road? So what opportunities are there for our citizens? I guarantee you if that thing is built, and I rue the day, but if it is built, most of those workers will come from Elizabeth City and South Mills because our people that need the jobs won't be able to get there. So if we're going to continue to move southward, we need to continue to expand our transit service.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What new policies should be considered to help preserve the agricultural industry?
Well, they did a great thing this year by dropping the personal property tax on farm equipment. Also, I would like to see OSAP, the open space program, I'd like to see that become funded for a change. Right now, the only time it gets money put in it hardly is whenever there's a solar farm built and they have to contribute every year to it. So I think we should fully fund that and be able to seize the opportunities to buy the developmental rights on these areas that come available. That will help out quite a bit with that. Also, there's a lot of other stuff we could do. Instead of building an industrial megasite, maybe we could have equestrian, agriculture, and mountain bike events, things like that at the Frank T. Williams Farm instead. You know, that's a gateway to Virginia. Instead of having a lot of heavy industry there and truck emissions and things like that and drainage into the Dismal Swamp, I believe that we could set up a facility there that would attract a lot of agritourism and a lot of adventure tourism too.
Thank you. I
Thank
invite
you.
you to make your closing statement.
Okay, as you've heard, and you probably figured out now, I'm not your usual candidate that comes up here. I pride myself on being independent. I also pride myself on not taking any developer or corporate money. We were talking about earlier about how we fund our campaigns. Well, mine is coming out of my back pocket for the most part, and I do have some individual donors that have helped me out, and I greatly appreciate them. But we can have campaigns without, all of this big money floating around. I guarantee you most of the candidates are going to have one person write one check for 3 times the amount that I'm able to raise this time. It's not fair, and it buys influence whether you want to think it does or not. You can't get that out of your mind. Oh yeah, I was able to buy a whole bunch of big signs with the money that guy gave me last year. So yeah, I'm very proud of that. I'd like to see some systemic change come around in Chesapeake, and I think it's time that we did that because, like I was talking about my great-grandfather earlier, we at times are changing, and so should we. And we start that by preserving our open spaces, improving our parks, and also improving our roads. They're choked with traffic. Improve our schools. Like I said earlier, there's some of them at 200% capacity now. We need a lot more schools. And they say they're going to build another elementary school in 3 years. We all know that that's not going to happen in Chesapeake. It's going to take way longer than that. So buckle up and please put a voice of different voice on City Council, and that's me, Jeff Staples, jeff4chesapeake.com. Thank you.
I invite Eric V. Ray, the second, to the podium to pull your questions and make your opening statement.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thank you all for enduring this, and enduring all of us on behalf of all the candidates. Thank you for staying. No one has left, and that's an outstanding thing. My name is Eric Ray, and I'm your candidate for Chesapeake City Council, and it's an honor for me to stand among you today. Who is Eric Ray, and why is he running? I am a Navy veteran, and I want to salute all my military and veterans. I served as a yeoman, and I was in the Navy on 9/11 when the terror attacks happened to our nation, and I was there serving in uniform during that time. I left the Navy, and I came back home on the vocational GI rehab bill to go to mortuary school. I'm a funeral director, licensed funeral director. I've been in the funeral business even before that, but when I came out of the Navy, I became a licensed funeral director, and I opened up my own funeral home in Norfolk, where we won the Best of Norfolk for 6 years straight. So why am I running? I'm running on some passionate reasons. First, I'm running to, as many people say, fully fund schools and public safety. That's a priority. Funding infrastructure, our roads, and making sure that everything runs smoothly. I also want to make sure that we are the economic boom. I want us to be the mecca for new businesses to come and stay and retain here. And lastly, one of my projects, if I didn't get that question, I want to work with our council and work with Hampton University to bring proton therapy network. Currently, there's only one proton center in Hampton, and that covers a lot. That goes beyond race. That goes beyond any other preferences and political persuasion. So that's something for all people, and I think that I want Chesapeake to be the innovator for that. So I invite your questions. Thank you all so much. My name is Eric Ray, and while we're online, you can visit me at ericray.com while you're online.
Mr. Ray. Number one, would advisory referendums be valuable to develop policies on important issues?
Advisory referendums is very crucial, and there's one that's coming up now with curbside recycling. My plan is in January for whatever the citizens have spoken about. We're going to go ahead and just go with that, and I think we're going to work with our council mates. There's some great council people that are already there, and I think the consensus is that we will pretty much yield to the wills and wishes of the citizens.
What two areas of the city are most in need of redevelopment?
That's a great question. I think every person in the city says that their city, a pocket is in need of development. But one of the ones I'm looking at is really South Norfolk. They have a very active civic league, and I've kind of become kind of an adopted child of South Norfolk. So I want to make sure that South Norfolk, there is currently fly ash in some areas that Dominion put there, and I think that we need to be working with the Army Corps of Engineers to straighten that out. We've got some blighted, I just drew a blank just for a second. We have shopping centers, and so we want to make sure that we can revitalize those. I want to put into place, or work with council to put into place, a new mixed-use zoning ordinance to be able to make sure that we can have housing and businesses. Because the only way to really get that, to really revitalize the area is to have, and to really fix the traffic problem, is you got to make sure that people live and work in the city or in the residence area that they're in. And so I think that would fix a whole lot of our problems. The second place is Western Branch. That's a gym. That is a huge gym. There's already some development now that's going on in our Chesapeake Square area, and I want to make sure that that is revitalized as well. We've got a lot of great people that live in Western Branch, and we need to make sure to drive them from Suffolk back to Chesapeake Square so that our city can thrive.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
I have your third question. Affordable community meeting space is difficult to find in Chesapeake. Should the cost be reduced at city facilities? Why or why not?
I will be this is one of the first answers I think people will hear tonight. I don't know a lot about that, I guess, how much does it cost to rent space, but this is your city. What I do know is my core values is being able to make sure that citizens have a place where they can meet. So I just want to make sure that that stays to be affordable for all of our citizens. I mean, it's your city, it's your city hall, this is your chambers. I just, I don't know if it's not, we don't want to call it rocket science, but, if we're here to serve, and then the city's here to serve you.
Thank you. I invite you to make your closing statement.
Well, folks, thank you all for enduring us again tonight. I have the final word, I guess, on this. I think we have a great city, and we have a great city council. I want to join this council to make sure that makes it even better. I'm not a native of Chesapeake. Although I did live here back in the 80s when the water was salty, you couldn't drink it. I remember that. I think some of you at home probably remember that. But, I chose to live here. And I think there's a caveat of people who move to our city. They need to have a voice also. People who choose to come to Chesapeake, who choose this city to come from other cities. No, we're not Virginia Beach. No, we're not Norfolk. No, we're not Suffolk. But Chesapeake, like Debbie Ritter said earlier, it's still a large city, but it still has that hometown feel. And I've been all over this city at night. We do need to have more lights in certain areas as well, too. We need to get a little bit more well lit. But I believe that the trajectory of the next 5 years, where are we going to be in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do we want to see our city? Do we want to see it overdeveloped, or do we want to see our city ridden with crime because we made some bad decisions? This election that you are embarking upon right now you will set the course for the next 10 to 15 years. And as your councilman, I live in Indian River. I want to represent the people of Western Branch. I want to represent the people of Fentress. I want to represent everyone. I want to be accountable to Brenda Johnson over in South Norfolk, because that's why I'm doing this job. I'm not doing this job for a pocket of people that becomes special interest. So folks, make the right decision today. Vote for myself and vote for this council to make sure that we can have our city. I was getting ready to say a couple of things. Jeff Jeffries, too. You can vote for him as well. But but make sure that we're a cohesive unit. And I think our council will work very well together, and that's what's necessary to make a good city run, a council that can work together and that will be a unit. Again, I'm Eric Ray. Go all the way with Eric Ray. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This concludes the forum for candidates for mayor and members of city council. Video replays of tonight's forum will be available online later this week with links from the Women's Division and city Facebook pages. Video replays will also be shown periodically until Election Day on Chesapeake Television, Cox Cable 48, and Verizon Fios 43. A separate forum for candidates for the school board will be conducted live on October 1st with replay videos airing on those same outlets. On behalf of the Women's Division of the Hampton Roads Chamber of Commerce, Chesapeake, thank you for watching. Please remember to vote on Election Day, November 5th, or take advantage of early voting locations, which are now available. Details can be found at cityofchesapeake.net. Good evening. If I could have your attention for one more moment, the candidates